All right. This is Investing with TJ
And this is Silver Slayer, and welcome to the Silver Stacking.
podcast. And we
A
are here in episode 5. This is
dude.
insane. It just seems like, we're flowing and we're, kind of getting the hang of things. This is a new situation for us. Thank you guys for
Yeah,
being along for the ride.
yeah.
And speaking of which, thank you guys so far for getting us to 953 subscribers. We're getting really close to that magic number of 1,000,
Yeah.
and that is when we'll start our silver giveaway.
Giveaway. Only the first 1,000 are going to be entered, though. If you're 1,001, I feel really bad for you.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, and there's basically 47 more to go. Maybe by the end, we'll release this on Friday, so maybe by Friday, we'll be at
already be there.
1,000.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
before we start anything, just want to say big shout out to our channel sponsor, Bullion Max. They are an online gold and silver and even platinum precious metals dealer, and they have free shipping over $200. Looks like they just got some new
Those are
American
type
Eagles.
2
So those of
Eagles.
you who are
Yeah.
looking to get some Eagles, definitely check them out. And we've been working with them for the past 5 episodes, and they've been really
Yeah.
great to work with. So big shout out
Yeah.
to Bullion
Giving us,
Max.
they're also giving us some inside people, not even just from their company, but I think we're lining up some really interesting other silver influencers out there. I would call them. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I'm just really grateful for this opportunity to work with them. So
Yeah, I remember talking to some of the guys in the chat when we premiered episode 4 and saying like, hey, would you guys like to check out some interviews? Would you like to see interviews on this channel? And people seem really excited about that. So
yeah,
we're working on it and we're hoping to
especially
get some interviews.
especially some of the ones that they've been offering, like I know you're really excited for the one. I mean, I don't want to like hype it up, if
Yeah,
but
yeah, because who knows,
one of
it may happen.
yeah, yeah, you're
But
really excited.
there's one guy that I'm really excited to talk to.
Yeah,
So we'll get into that at another time when it's ready
yeah.
to go.
Just know that big things are coming, and I'm so excited for you all to be here with us.
So first topic we're going to tee up, I'm going to pose a question. And to be honest, I haven't gone over the details of this with Silver Slayer. I've just kind of gone over the main subject matter. But the question that I want to pose to Silver Slayer is, can you imagine a world with infinite silver?
I can't imagine it, but honestly, like the way we're advancing technologically, I couldn't say it's not possible. I mean, look how far we've came in just 2 decades technologically. Like we are advancing so fast that I wouldn't be surprised if space mining happens within the next decade.
Exactly. So interesting you mentioned space mining, because we've talked a lot about space mining with the idea of it increasing supply of silver, whereas right now there might be a bit of a shortage. And one of the things that we're going to have to be looking at in the future is, well, we're going to need a large supply of metals, minerals, especially as we go towards more of a expanded energy, say greener economy. And the thing that a lot of people may not be aware of right now, it's kind of been happening in the background, but there's this idea that we will soon be able to have infinite silver and infinite energy. So obviously we have fossil fuels. People have talked a lot about batteries and so on and so forth. And some people might be aware of nuclear fusion reactors, or fission, I should say, reactors. But what we have not done yet is recreate what the sun does in our solar system. And that's something that a lot of us, or a lot of people in the scientific community, have been trying to veer towards, which is, can we recreate the processes of energy creation that the sun does, which is called nuclear fusion? The knock-on effects of that is this ability to create elements. Now, many of you guys know that silver, gold, they are elements.
Yeah.
And what happens in the sun, I'm not going to get into it too much until we start digging into this article over here. But pretty much what happens is there's a bunch of protons. And actually, speaking of which, I have some notes right here that I'm going to use to go over this, because obviously I'm not a scientist. So I had to write all this down because there's a lot here as far as what this could possibly mean for infinite silver. But here's the thing. The sun creates energy through a process called nuclear fusion. That's point number one. Point number two, hydrogen protons slam into each other and fuse together. And when they fuse, they create helium, which is another element. So what I'm basically saying is one element is creating another element within this process. And in the process, they release energy. This is what a lot of people want to do. They want to basically create this process on Earth so we can have infinite energy. Next point, you may be wondering, so can we create this process here on Earth by using the same plasma that's within this inside the sun and apply it here on Earth? Now, there's a company right now called Commonwealth Fusion Systems, and they've been experimenting with this. There's also this thing in the south of France called ITER, which is a system that's going to demonstrate the ability of nuclear fusion, and they will start their production in 2025. They've been building it for many years now. And if it works, the implications are that we may be able to have plasma fusion and create this, abundant energy source. And the knock-on effects is that we'll be able to create elements.
Yeah.
And now it's not to say that in 20 or by 2025, we'll be just creating elements left and right.
Yeah.
The idea is that maybe 100 years down the road, maybe 200 years down the road.
I think it might be quicker than that. Like,
you never know.
Think 100 years back, like how, we advance pretty fast nowadays. So
exactly. And the whole idea is that these lighter weight elements are fusing together and they're creating these heavier weight elements, to the point where sometime in the future, some are positing that we'll be able to create heavier elements, i.e. silver, maybe some of the rare earth metals that are going to be needed for the green economy. Some are saying phosphorus, which is needed for agriculture. And this will all be done by using a minimal input to get maximal output. And so far, we haven't achieved that yet with nuclear fusion. Pretty much the output that we get in energy is equal to or is less than the amount of energy that's put into it. And the idea is to do the opposite: less input, more output. And if this thing happens in 2025, there could be a possibility that we'll start to see this whole plasma fusion. So here's the article: nuclear fusion reactor smashes an energy record. And this happened actually within the last couple of weeks. So basically, the article states a 24-year-old nuclear fusion record has crumbled. Scientists at the Joint European Tourist Jet near Oxford, UK, announced on February 9th that they had generated the highest sustained energy pulse ever created by fusing together atoms, more than doubling their own record from experiments performed in 1997. Now I'm going to scroll down to this here. If researchers can harness nuclear fusion, the process that powers the sun, it promises to provide a near limitless source of clean energy. But so far, no experiment has generated more energy than has been put in. So that's pretty much what I said. And if you want to have a look at what this process looks like, this is pretty much what it looks like here. This is what the machine This is the machine that they use, and this is what it looks like pretty much on the inside when they do
Dude,
this
that's scary.
nuclear.
That thing's gonna like explode and blow up the planet or something. It's like,
Yeah. Now they
geez,
said that this is actually safer than the process that we use now, which is nuclear
really?
fission with uranium. And I know a lot of people are interested in uranium right now, but this is the next step, which is, can we actually um, have a safer
Yeah,
version of this? Now, not to say that the probability of danger coming from nuclear fission is low, but it can be very bad if it goes awry. This is promising basically that even if something goes wrong, this is a cleaner version of nuclear fission. But again, the idea is that, can we have infinite silver
right.
from this process when we create these heavier elements? So the question that I'm posing now is, what
What
would
would
that
that do to
mean
the price?
for the silver spot
Yeah,
price if we have infinite elements at our disposal? So what do you think about that?
low supply, high demand shoots the price up. But if we have high demand, I mean, if we have high supply and high demand, I couldn't see how silver would be very valuable. I mean, it's valuable more so in the way of what it's needed for, not the price tag. Just like how people say silver has intrinsical value because the value's inside the 1 ounce of metal inside the coin instead of the price tag. It's still valuable, but the price I don't see ever, getting past. Who knows? I still think at the end of the day, people, especially over like they said, 2025 is when they're gonna start that. By then, people will see how scarce and how important silver is. So I do think that it would be on their radar, especially like in the next 20 years if they're doing a lot of this for the green energy. But I couldn't see the price really explode, especially exploding. I mean, even at these prices, which is scary to think
Yeah,
about. It's really scary to think about. But by the time that happens, though, I mean, silver
we'll be
would have,
long gone, I
yeah,
think.
silver would have already exploded, and we would have already cashed out, and you know.
Yeah, and I think the thing to take note of here is that we don't live in this world right now. We don't live in this world of infinite energy, and this is what
Yeah,
these guys are trying to go
yeah.
towards.
I mean,
Currently, right now, when we're talking about looking at silver or making any kind of investment in anything, it's based on our current outlook. This is essentially at the moment science fiction, though people are trying to turn to
yeah,
scientific reality. So I wanted to throw it out there, so people can just get in their heads like, okay, what's my time horizon with silver? What's my time horizon with gold? Is there a world? Could there possibly be a world where the value, or not the value, but you could say the paper price may actually fall, and you may find that there's going to be demand from industry. And here's the thing that I'm starting to think about. People say that, well, the price of the price of copper is more advantageous to use in certain technology than using silver for certain technology, though silver has better quality.
yeah.
But in this
Much,
world, I could see people saying, well, if we can make infinite silver, then why not just use silver and get rid
yeah,
of this poor quality stuff? And then we might have better quality technology, if the
definitely.
price is not even, an issue or a factor.
Yeah,
Now, who knows? Maybe, the people who create silver from this process, creating these elements, maybe they may price it a certain kind of way. Maybe there might be a premium. Maybe the premium might be, something to consider, but maybe the spot price, who knows? Who knows how it might be
dude, that'd
impacted?
be. Imagine like owning some silver that was, that was created by this new
Nuclear
technology.
fusion.
Because I mean, silver, gold and silver isn't made in the ground. It's from meteors. That's why
Mhm.
there's such a limited supply. It's a lot of people don't know that actually either. Like that's why it's also getting harder and harder to find because there really isn't that much gold and silver in the Earth's crust. But Imagine like
Exactly.
owning a silver coin that was made from like this new nuclear fusion technology, dude. That would be crazy. Like, that would be awesome.
Exactly. Exactly. So like, as far as the supply is concerned, and investments, this is like, hundreds of years down the line. But maybe to the audience, start thinking like, what would this world be like? Do you see this as even being a reality? Are um people often thinking that there might be a possibility of infinite energy sources, and from this being able to create silver, just out of thin air, or even just out of, I should say, nuclear fusion. I shouldn't say out of thin air. Let us know what you guys think in the comment section
Yeah.
about this. Now, that's the very, very long term. Let's
Yeah.
get more into what we're kind of seeing right now with silver and gold. So, over the course of the last couple of weeks, obviously, we've been seeing some terrible things happening internationally with Russia and the Ukraine. As you can see here, here's Google Trends. You type in Russia and Ukraine. The trends have pretty much been going off the charts compared to where things were over the course of the last year. And you have people looking at Bitcoin and comparing it with precious metals, gold and silver. Um, this guy right here that I follow, he's been on Kitco quite a while. His name is Michael Gayed. He's a CFA. But he made this tweet. He said, "Oh, look, a hedge of inflation, a risk-off asset, and a store of value." And of course, he, is saying this tongue in cheek while posting a screenshot
Right.
of Bitcoin and Ethereum and everything else during this time when we're seeing everyone running to gold and even silver, as there's this potential conflict happening across the water, in Russia and in the Ukraine. But Silver Slayer, what do you think about this whole idea of risk on, risk off, Bitcoin, gold? Like, is Bitcoin going to take the reins from silver and gold as a risk off asset for the purpose of risk off investment? What are your thoughts?
I think precious metals are always going to be the safest, smartest, obviously as a silver stacker, but also in general, tangible items. Like I said, silver, it has intrinsical value. Bitcoin's digital, but they do have benefits just in different areas.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, Bitcoin and gold are very similar in a lot of different ways that I don't think people realize, where they both go against the dollar,
Oh
right?
yeah,
When
there's actually a strong correlation I've done in
yeah,
my own research.
yeah,
There's actually a correlation. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, because Bitcoin's decentralized, the dollar centralized. So that's kind of like silver, where you're taking the power away from them and putting it into your own hands. And Bitcoin does that as well. When you have your money or your crypto in a cold wallet, that's completely yours. That's nobody can touch that, nothing. And that's kind of like silver too. When you have your silver, that's yours. But Bitcoin digitally, as we advance to this new age, this new technological era, I do find Bitcoin being extremely beneficial, or I guess convenient. It's instant transactions. There's no Bitcoin of
Yeah.
China, with zero to little fees. And some countries use crypto as their actual currency nowadays, like third world countries. Silver, you can't really do that. I couldn't
Mm.
see a day and age where we're like using tangible silver as our actual money. That's just, I think it'd be something digital. Just like if you watch a sci-fi movie and you like look at their money in the future, it's something like crypto, right? Like very advanced, digital. But also it's very similar in the way of supply. There's only 21 million Bitcoin that have ever been created, and 17 million have already been mined. So there's only a couple million left to be mined, off the blockchain. And once those are in circulation, all the Bitcoin are mined in circulation. So there's a pretty low supply for that as well, almost looking, from that same aspect of silver scarcity. So it's really weird. I do find them both beneficial in different areas. And I do think people will invest into both of those for different reasons as well, for, for trying to protect your wealth. So
Yeah, I look at Bitcoin. I see more of a um, correlation between Bitcoin and I guess you could say riskier. And by
yeah,
riskier, I mean, not to get too technical, but as far as price volatility, you see that happening more with Bitcoin than with gold and silver, meaning
definitely.
how much does it just, change from the average price that you tend to see with
Yeah.
Bitcoin? How often does it just like
Crypt,
vary?
well, crypto's it's all speculation, right? Bitcoin's all speculation. Gold and silver has, supply and demand from its fundamental I guess background, where it's, how much is dug up out of the ground, all from that angle. Precious metals are definitely safer, and the price is going to be more stable, because crypto really is like Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan came out like in
Oh,
2017, called Bitcoin a scam, and the price shot down thousands and thousands of dollars. Like with silver, you can't, or even gold, like the price wouldn't drop to that extent. It really is. I feel like a lot more speculative, and the price definitely is more volatile than gold and silver. So
oh yeah. And I mean, speaking of where we are right now, it's definitely a lot of people are looking at, are we in a are we in risk on territory or risk off territory? Obviously, a lot of people are saying, hey, we're in risk off.
yeah,
Whether currently right now, and some are saying by the end of this year, we will be in a risk off area relative to the business cycle. But currently, when you're looking at silver, this is where we are. Over the course of the last couple of weeks, since the beginning of February, that's kind of when we start to see a lot of this news coming in about Russia and Ukraine. Silver and gold have been pretty much off to the races, to the point where silver is now starting to move up as the 250-day moving average is coming down. It looks like it might start crossing above. And here on the MACD, you're starting to see much more bullish behavior in the short term with silver's price action. So a lot of people are saying, hey, like this is a really good time for silver price, for the silver price movement. And I've I've gone on record in saying that the first half of this year is going to be really good for silver prices, in my view. And I think towards the middle and towards the end, and again, not to confuse this with premiums, but the spot price, I think will start to feel some downward pressure from when the Fed will start to raise their Fed funds rate. And when that happens, there's this strong sensitivity between real rates and the silver price. And as those real rates rise, the silver price will start to come down a bit. Now, for me, that'll be a good time to get in there,
yeah,
and I'm going to start stacking a lot more during that time. Right now, I'm building up some cash. I've said, I have some expenses that I need to take care of this year, but some of that cash, I'm hoping it will actually go back down to that area where I first got into silver. I'm hoping it goes down to around 17, 18,
whoa,
$19, and that way I'll go back in and get a bit more silver. But that's just my overall view as far as the outlook for silver currently right now and towards the end of the year. And as far as what you're seeing right now, Silver Slayer, what's your view? I mean, that's my view. We can, we can disagree or agree, but
I just couldn't see a silver ever going back that low.
Mhm.
I just think there's too many people interested now, and I mean, looking back, like even a couple of years,
Yeah.
like when the virus started,
Mhm.
I guess we did see it $11 in March of
Oh yeah.
2020. So I guess I have to like remember that as well. Like, 2 years ago, silver was. So I guess like it is. A lot of people do become desensitized to higher prices. Even myself, just realizing that now. I guess moving forwards, like I think silver is going to hit $50+ by the year 2025. Like, and
2025, yeah.
yeah, that's when the Green New Deal will be in full effect. Silver scarcity will be to a whole nother level.
Mhm.
Even electric vehicles by then, like there's going to be a lot of silver needed, but the supply is going to be extremely low. So I couldn't see it over the next couple of years going downwards to that degree. If it did, it would be, within this year, like if something happened or the economy starts getting stronger or something along those lines. But or even with like the FOMC, they have a lot of power over silver prices. But for like the medium term, even, or I guess I don't know what you would consider like next couple of years. But I couldn't see the price going that low. But
Mhm.
even if it was like $20, I would still be buying it. I mean, regardless, I'll still buy it right now,
Yeah, yeah.
honestly, like, but I guess like, why do you say $17? Is it or what time frame are you talking about?
So it's not necessarily tied to a time frame. It's more so just tied to some of the inputs that I'm seeing. Um, and honestly, I could pull it up here. I'm not necessarily thinking that the price will go down within like a year to like $17. I do think that between now and sometime, I would say, now this is just a guesstimate. No one really knows what's going to happen with
Yeah,
an impending recession, but or when that'll happen. But let's just say if you are a if you take the view that there are business cycles and that there are expansions, peaks, corrections, recessions, so on and so forth. Currently, many people are thinking that, okay, we might be somewhere in a peakier area, and we may start to see a little bit of a correction towards the end of the year. Now, I don't think that'll be the recession. I do think we might have a little bit of a correction, but if we were to take the view of just averages, we might start to see a recession within the next, handful of years. That may even take us to where you think silver may go up, which will be around 2025. In my view, I think silver and gold follow a cyclical behavior in the short term, but in the long term, they just go up as
yeah,
long as we have people printing money. But in the short term, following cycles, after we get out of those recessionary periods and we start to get into expansion with inflation expectations, that's when you start to see those prices really move higher. And I think if we were to take that view that, hey, recessions happen every 5 to 10 years or so, let's just say by 2024 or 2025, with the anticipation of inflation coming in 2026 or 2027, we might start to see prices begin to rise, pretty aggressively from wherever the base is. And we always have, after every business cycle, a rising price base in silver. So it never goes down further than the
yeah,
previous cycle's
right.
base. In my view, I think that we may if we are going to go back down and retreat, I don't see it going down and settling around like $10 or $11 or something. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes down to, let's say, 15, 16, 17 for a little bit, and then it'll rise back up again. And then when it rises, I wouldn't be surprised if it goes past 30 easily,
Yeah.
and just
It,
start, and then start rising. So
yeah. If it went past 30, I think it would go into extreme overbought territory.
mhm.
Just because people would be so excited, or even especially when it breaks past 50 too, because
Oh yeah, people start piling in at that
yeah.
point.
I was also gonna say a little bit ago as well. 2008 to 2011 was like the perfect example of, I think, what we're in right now. Like
Mhm.
the start of 2020 would be 2008, financial crisis, recession/depression, $1 billion stimulus. 3 years later led to $50 silver. Now we have recession slash depression, $1 trillion stimulus, a global pandemic, and a silver shortage. And we also have interest rates, which we've like back then it was a lot less severe. That still led silver to $50. So if we're
I see what
talking
you mean.
about
Yeah.
like $1 trillion stimulus plus add on a global pandemic on top of this, if that led silver to $50 back then in 3 years, what could it lead to this time? You know, and so if we're going to do 3 years from 2008 to 2011 to 3 years now, which would be 2023. I mean, obviously it's not it wouldn't be exact, but it's very similar. I mean, if you really do look at it, it's very similar. And I've covered articles on this. I'm curious to see when that or what that's going to do to the price at the end of things.
Yeah, and I think we might have talked about this in previous episodes, but one of the things I think prevented silver from going that high this time around was the fact that instead of a, outright financial economic recession, we had a virus,
Yeah.
and it just kept appearing,
And then,
disappearing,
yeah.
new one, and then it will go away, and then a new one, and then it will go away. There's a period that it looked like, okay, it's going away. Now we're back to the races. Then a new one will come, and then it'll take the price right back down again. I think if the next recession is completely an economic one, and there is no virus that'll be the cause of it, I think what we'll see is silver finally get to that point where it's like, all right, we're going past 30, we're going up to 50. I think that momentum was lost because of, all right, we see Delta. And, and then also during that time when Delta came, or right before Delta got there, we were heading up. Delta comes, and then we come back down. And then right during that time, that's when Jerome Powell was saying, we're thinking about potentially, reducing our asset purchases. And then maybe after that, we're going to start thinking about rate hikes. That was around the end of the summer of 2021. If Jerome Powell had not started talking that way during that time and Delta went away, I think we would have seen the same thing where prices of silver would have gone back up. But because that started to happen, people started to readjust things a bit more. Going back to my view, I think we would have hit $50 silver if this was a true financial recession. Because like you said, we had way more money poured in. Inflation, CPI was higher than what we've seen since the 80s. And in my view, during that time in 2021, I think we would have seen a higher price in silver and gold. But of course, all these new variants just came out of nowhere, and it just shut down things economically. People started to have supply chain issues again, and things start to close down again. But when the next recession comes, and if it's financial, I think that's when we'll start to see silver and gold get back to those heights again. But that's just my opinion. But here we have the U.S. 10-year Treasury note yield. This thing right here is pretty sensitive. Now, I'm going to actually just get my keyboard really quick.
Make sure you guys go subscribe.
Definitely. And what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to mess around with this number. So right now we're at negative 0.43. So this number will start rising once the Fed starts, adjusting rates. So let's just play around with this. Here's on the right side, you see the lower limit being 1951, upper limit 2553, central tendency is 2252. Let's see what happens when I change this to negative 0. So we're at 0.43. Let's see what happens at 0.25. So now it starts to come down a little bit. Let's see what happens when we are at 0.5. We're getting out of negative territory, but we're at 0.5, so not too high. Now it starts to come down a little bit more. And again, this is just looking at the real rates. Let's see what happens when we put it at 1. Okay, now it's coming down a little bit more. But again, this is a band. So if things are looking pretty weak in silver as things are coming down, it'll likely be hugging or between the central limit and the lower limit. Currently, right now, we're above the central limit, but we haven't really been hugging the upper limit as much. This is pretty much where we are right now. We're getting close to 25, but we haven't gotten to 25. We're right now near like close to 24, so we're in between because things are looking pretty good right now for silver, obviously, because we're in a risk off time. And as you can see here, we've been seeing a lot of inflows of SLV since January. In January, we had a massive rush into SLV, and who knows, we might start to see the same thing as the numbers come out for February's number. But the average monthly SLV volume is usually 305 million. And that's going back to 2014. So we've been above that for some time. So imagine if people start to get a little bit, like, all right, things are getting risk off. I'm kind of getting tired of this. And it goes back down to the average. We'll start to see this thing come down a bit more. And that'll happen right when this thing right here starts rising, the real rates. So, and also take note that gold prices have a strong sensitivity to, or silver is really sensitive to gold prices. So imagine if gold comes down. Let's just say gold is at 1790, So now this thing comes down a bit more. Say it's at 1790 while, we're at negative 0.25, So like, as you can see, all these things playing out together, in my head, I see there being a little bit more pressure for the spot price of silver, downward pressure. But again, I'm not talking about the premiums. The premiums, I think, we'll still see being pretty high. And unfortunately, that might be an issue for some investors. In my view, I still plan on, my plan is basically by the end of this year, maybe early 2023, I'll be stacking a lot more of this stuff. And even, who knows, like Silver Slayer said, I might even just be stacking regardless. But I'm really going to start going in, I think by late 2022, early 2023. But that's just my view of the short term.
It wasn't just the SLV though. This year, the physical demand, like US Mint sold 5 million ounces the first month of January. So like everyone, even, digital and physical is investing into silver. But if it does go down on the SLV, like you said, back down to like 300, it would be interesting to see if that's close to the physical demand as well. Because I mean, we exceeded 1.12 billion ounces this year. It's usually around 900 million for the supply. But next year, I don't think we'll hit that number. I think this year it was just so special because so many things were coming together. But it would be interesting, even looking at a chart going like backdating what the SLV numbers are to the physical, coins sold.
I would like to get that data too, like those like physical. Because like I would love to nerd out with those numbers. I mainly use SLV. The main reason why is because some people are just like, hey, I just want some silver exposure. What's the best way I can do it? SLV, I'll just use that. So there's a lot of people who go into it. There's a lot more liquidity. There's a lot more data. And it's easy for me to get publicly. I've been trying to, and I know there's some data out there to like get access to silver premiums. I really want that data because I want to
Yeah.
see just how that's behaved over time, and tracking that, so that way I can do some forecasting on premiums as
Yeah,
opposed to
that
just
would
price.
that would be really
You know,
cool. That'd be
and I
really
think
cool.
that'll be helpful for a lot of investors too. So maybe I'll see if I can find that. I do know there are some services, but they're paid. So I just got to see if there's a free version where I can get it. You know, guys, I think, you know, at the top of the hour, we basically scheduled this episode to talk about the extreme long term, a little bit more of the medium term, and then talking a little bit more about what's happening right now with the silver price and kind of forecasting it out. But it's one of the great ways, and I think one of the things I really like about our podcast is that we're kind of educating and teaching people almost ways to start to kind of think about silver and think about you know, the way they might, you know, structure their investing process
Yeah.
or their stacking process. And we just want to get you guys to start thinking about the what ifs. Not to say that, hey, this is, you know, set in stone, it's going to happen completely. But if you start thinking about the what ifs, the worst case scenarios, you can start stacking, and you won't feel as, you know, nervous or scared if something goes against you, because if it does go against you, you have already prepared for that worst case
Yeah.
scenario, and you start to know what to do in case things like that happen. So
Yeah.
let's say 100 years from now, we start to see, you know, people creating silver out of nuclear fusion. You know, you might start to say, you know, to your grandkids or something, hey, make sure to tell, you know, your grandkids about
Yeah.
this possibility. Just keep it on the radar, you know, as I pass down the silver to you, you know. But obviously that's nothing you have to worry about. So, or me and Silver Slayer have to actually honestly worry about. But it's something just to think about, because I know many people think about silver as a retirement source, or something they want to pass down to their kids and their kids' kids. That's something that's going to have to be on their radar in the future. So make sure that you're up on it so you can teach them in the future.
Yeah,
So,
things are going to happen too. Like you're going to make mistakes. There's going to be times where, you know, you might even make a bad purchase or sell, or, you know, at the wrong time. You know, like that's normal. And try to what I tried to do, because I've made some mistakes, is I just try to learn from it. So it's almost like an opportunity to grow. I call it like a learning lesson, because every investor goes through that. But if you learn from it, it's not as bad, I guess. And like TJ was saying, you know, you have to prepare, because markets change so much, especially nowadays where speculation has such a
oh
big,
yeah.
you know, like markets change. And actually, I was interviewing the owner of my local coin shop, and I asked him this question. I said, when you started stacking, you know, 45 years ago, was your strategy back then different than today? And he said, oh, definitely. You know, the way you have to invest in the silver today is much different, because what affects the prices are much different. And I think that's interesting, that we will have to keep adjusting and adapting. Like American Eagles, that was a huge adjustment for a lot of people. You know, we're used to
Mhm.
buying Eagles at $2, $3 over spot. Now, you know, $10 plus. You know, that's a big
Yeah.
adjustment. Like I used to recommend beginners American Eagles all the time, and now I have to recommend generics. So
Mhm.
I think that is important too, to, like you said, is to always be prepared, whether that's buying a little bit of high premium silver on the side too, that's almost detached from spot price, but also have your base, your core silver.
Oh
Um,
yeah. And that's a good point, man. Cause like I honestly didn't know anything about this stuff. But then when I started to sell, I was like, oh, this thing is giving me a higher return than some of the coins I thought would give me a pretty high return. And they were the high premium, high numismatic valued silver, which I thought would not even, honestly, I just didn't know anything about the selling process. So I just thought if I give this coin to my dealer, they would say, oh, this is not worth as much as an American Silver Eagle. So I'll give you less than what I would give you
yeah,
for, you know, an ASC. But it was actually the opposite. They gave me more. So um, you know, even that, you know, there's a, when you're kind of playing the physical game, you also have to start thinking about allocation as well. like Silver Slayer was saying. So this is that's a part of the education that I need to start thinking about. And I haven't even thought about it. It really just crossed my mind after Silver Slayer just started talking just now. But how much weighting do you place on, high premium silver versus non-high premium? And, how much are you willing to allocate to each? It's up to every single
Yeah.
stacker, but when it comes to the potential of, let's say, resale, you have to consider that, because it's like, well, if I allocate a little bit more to the low premium stuff, when I want to sell, it may not be as high as I thought. So, just keep a lot of that in mind. I definitely am, and I may start to actually think about that as I begin planning my next phase of stacking, which, again, I said might start happening towards the end of the year. I need to start crafting my plan of attack as well, along with you guys.
It really depends on your outlook of where you see silver going. Because let's say premiums didn't exist, because before 2 years ago, this was a reality. Let's say all your silver is just generic silver pegged to spot price, and silver's $24. In 15 years from now, or 20 years, 30 years, if spot price is still $24, your stack has not appreciated a single penny. But if you have coins like pandas, kookaburras, but within 20 years, those coins will have quadrupled, quintupled. So it's nice to have some coins that are pegged to spot price, so you can get as many ounces and build your stack up, but also have other more expensive high premium coins that are also making money regardless of what spot price does. So it's kind of like you're balancing your stack. But this is the hard part. If you know spot price is going to go higher, then there's no point to buy those high premium silver coins. Just get as much silver so you can profit. But if you're someone who doesn't know and say, well, it could, then you might want to buy pandas just to be careful that if spot price does stay low for 10 years at least, so that's why I said it really depends on where you think prices are going to go.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
and that I'm telling you, man, I gotta find that data on premiums and stuff like that.
Yes. That's a
Just so I
perfect
can create
example
another
why.
model.
Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
perfect
because
example why.
I think that premium model will be amazing. Because a lot of what kind of goes into premiums and everything, from me talking to my local dealer, he basically said, it's essentially the value add along the value chain. It's, what the miner, wants to be paid by the, I guess you say the manufacturer, and what the manufacturer wants to get paid by whoever is after them. Maybe it's the refiner, the wholesaler, whoever, or the retailer. But what goes into their process of mining, those costs will adjust based on what's happening in the macro. So if oil prices are screaming through the roof, they want to be compensated on that, because that is an input to them digging the silver out of the ground. But if silver prices, or if oil prices are going down, maybe premiums might start coming down a bit too, because their cost of getting that silver out the ground has dropped. I'm not really sure, but I really want to play around with this to see if that's true. And if that's the case, there might be a way to kind of model this. Now,
Scarcity.
again, and honestly, and again, I've said this many times before, the models I've shown here that I've created are not, it's not like gospel truth. It's essentially a guide rail. It's, it's not going to tell you exactly what's going to happen. It's just saying, hey, based on historical data, if X, Y, and Z input changes, there's a probability that this is what's going to happen to spot price. I want to do that same thing for premium as well.
That's a good point. And that's exactly why it's called a silver stacking strategy. Gambling throws money with no data, no historical data. Investors make strategical decisions, right, based off information, and that information you give us. So we're looking at the information, trying to waive the odds in our favor, right, the probability in our favor, instead of gamblers that just, and that's why even people that stack silver that don't watch our videos or don't watch, you explaining all this stuff, they're gambling more. They're not they're not investing off of any type of information or strategy at all, you know.
Yeah,
So
and if you're just kind of going off your gut, and I think we've all done this before. I've done this before. I've even, learned about how to do any of this stuff. I used to just say, "Hey, I like this thing, and let me just put money into it," and that's fine if that's something that you just
yeah,
enjoy
it's just
doing. Silver Slayers even said like, if that's something that you want to buy, you'll never make a bad purchase.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
and funny enough, when I bought that Republic of Chad coin, I just wanted it because I thought it was cool, and turns out that was one of my higher
Yeah.
return pieces of silver. So I didn't make a bad purchase. It actually helped
Yeah.
me out. um, so and oh, and what's that there? Is that silver?
Yeah, this is the first big purchase I ever made. It's a PF70 Ultra Cameo Moon Festival Panda. It's 2016.
Wow. That was your
But
first purchase?
this was my first big purchase. This coin was $100. And I remember
Wow.
like there was only a mintage of 5,000 of these though, and a
Mhm.
less and a lot of them were gem mint, not PF70 Ultra Cameo.
Hmm.
But I bought this coin and like this was the first slab coin, first coin that wasn't just a normal, eagle or something. And like I
Yeah.
fell in love with it. And
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
was my channel logo actually for years and
Oh,
years.
really?
Yeah, and it was actually in the intro. John Optics like did this really cool intro with the design,
Nice,
but yeah, I
nice.
remember this was like the first, like when I got this is when I fell in love with pandas and started going down more the high premium route, which probably wasn't good for me because I was so new, but but
Well, hey, I
yeah,
mean, yeah, you can't be upset now. I mean, looking
yeah,
back on it, it's like,
yeah,
imagine what that would be worth now, just given the fact that
yeah.
spot has changed so much from where it was back in
Oh yeah.
2016,
Oh yeah.
you
That you
know?
can't find that coin for $100 anymore, I doubt.
Exactly. So, and to that point, Silver Slayer, brought up a good point. It's like, hey, he wanted to buy that, and funny enough, it happens to be worth
Yeah.
way more than what he got it at. But at the end of the day, he just enjoyed,
Yeah, I'm never gonna sell that.
that
I don't
purchase.
care if the coin was $1 million right now, or maybe
Yeah.
a million, maybe. But even if it was
Mhm.
like no, even if I profited greatly off of it, I wouldn't sell it because that's like my first coin that I had real sentimental value towards, especially since it was my channel logo. For so many
Yeah.
years, like that coin is like represents like me. Like
Mhm.
So I'm never selling that thing. But
Yeah, and to be honest, honestly, one of the cool things seeing you get that um get that silver out was when I think about getting more silver later on in the year or early in 2023 or whatever, a part of me, and this is like a very small part of me based off of my strategy, just kind of wanted to restart my stacking journey a little bit. I know that sounds weird, but and this is just a personal thing. Again, just like it's not a large part of why I did what I did, but part of me is just kind of like, you know what? I wish I started with, you know, different ounces of silver, different types of silver. I want to get into different types of silver as
yeah,
well, not just coins. I want to get into bars.
bars. Yeah,
I want to get some generics as well. And I want to do it mindfully. I don't want to just do it like willy-nilly. And I kind of had a general strategy, but it was a little willy-nilly. It was like, all right, I'll just get ASCs and I'll just get maples and that's it.
yeah,
And every now and then I might just get something that I like, but I want to be a little bit more mindful in the way that, I stack in the
yeah,
future. Even in what you just showed me there, like I'm actually not up on this as well, but that coin you just showed in the case, I know there's that whole PF what was that again? This
yeah.
actually might be good for new stackers.
Yeah, PF70. PF stands for proof. MS stands for mint state. Like I have a
Mhm.
whole bunch of different slab coins. Like this is an MS70, which stands for mint state. 70 is the highest. This means this coin is literally in perfect condition. A 70 is the highest, so it'll go from like MS, it'll say like 63, MS 64, But when it's MS70, that means this coin is literally under a freaking microscope, like perfect condition. But I all these are 70s. I don't ever buy a coin that's lower than like perfect condition,
Yeah.
because if it's a 68 or 69, you could just buy the raw coin, send it into NGC to get it graded, and it'll come back a 68 or 69 most of the times. If you buy
Mm.
it from like Atmex or somewhere where the coin comes brilliant uncirculated, But
Oh, wait,
yeah,
break that process down. So if I go and I get some silver from AppMex or whoever, Bullion Max, and I get
yeah,
some silver that's brilliant uncirculated.
that's dope.
Um, so you're saying that that would be less than 68 or 69, but if I send it to, and what was that company you said?
No, no, no,
NG?
no, no. It well, you buy it brilliant uncirculated because usually that's what it comes as, and you'll get it in the coin flip or whatever, and it's not graded yet. But NGC or PCGS, those two places you can send coins in to get graded, like to see what condition the coin is. And once it's graded, then you can sell it much higher, because then you could sell it to your customer like, hey, this is what the actual condition of this coin is. Kind of like baseball
Hmm,
card or something, if you wanted to, see how good
I
of the
see.
but you could buy a raw coin like off AppMex or Bullion Max, and let's say I wanted to buy like the new Panda, I could receive it, and then I could just send it into NGC, and they'll send it back to me, and it'll say probably a 68 or 69, since it's brilliant uncirculated. It's never been touched by human hands. So most of the time it is 68 or 69. So they could just resell it online for much higher. And that's why a lot of people say pay for the coin, not the slab, because a lot of people rip people off like that. So like
I see.
I'll only buy 70s, because that's the only one where condition really matters, unless it's like a really old dated Morgan or something, then like
Mhm.
a 64 or something is still really good, because that coin has been circulating in lots of people's hands. But like a
Yeah.
newer coin, like if it's like a 2019 or 2017 or 8, if it's a 69, that's kind of silly, because you could just go buy a really cheap one on AppMex and just send it into NGC, and you'll
Mhm.
get the same grade. But
And NGC, is that a refiner? What is
yeah,
that
it's
company?
it's it's numismatic. Well, they call it this one numismatic guarantee corporation.
Mhm.
It's like a place that grades coins. Like PCGS and NGC are the two ones that everyone goes to. Like everyone that has like this type of look is NGC, but you'll see those other ones that are like clear and they're blue. Those are PCGS slabs. I like
I see.
NGC. Most people like NGC more, but um, those two are the place that everyone sends their coins in to get graded. You usually have to start a membership though, like it's
Mm.
yearly, and then let's say you have a whole bunch of coins, you just want to send it to get graded, maybe for your personal collection or to resell. You could just send them in there. They'll send them back to you. Then you could sell them online for a lot higher of a price, because they're professionally graded, and you could show that person, hey, like I have the real deal. It's not fake. And this is the professional grade of what this coin really is. Because if you list it on eBay just saying, oh, it's in this condition, a lot of people won't believe you, but if it's in the
I see.
slab, you got proof that it's in that condition. So
Interesting. Man, you
yeah.
just schooled me on a whole bunch of
Yeah,
stuff.
there's like a whole nother world to this type of stuff. Like
And on average, what's the cost for somebody to have one of those memberships for
um
NGC?
it's not too much.
Mhm.
I never got the membership. I've always just bought these coins like off certain people on eBay. And
Mhm.
by the way, if you're gonna buy these, what you can do is on eBay, if they show, which they should show the whole coin, it on NGC, you can type in this number right there, and it will tell you what coin is supposed to be in here. So you could always know if you're getting the real coin. That's a little
Wow.
tip that a lot of people don't know. Like anytime I buy any of these, I'll look on eBay at the number, and it should match. And once you type it in, it will say, yeah, it's supposed to be this coin. But um, I mean,
Because theoretically, it
Oh
could,
yeah,
let's say for example, someone's trying to scam you.
yeah,
If you
that,
type the number in to NGC, and
yeah,
let's say for example you're trying to buy an ASC, what might pop up might be a maple
yeah,
leaf.
yeah. Or
Is that
and
what you're
that's
kind
how
of
you,
saying?
yeah, and the coin could be not in that actual condition, and they could
I
scam.
see.
Yeah, but what was the question right before that though? You said
It was just about like what the price was for subscriptions and stuff
oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I
yeah.
don't I know it's not that expensive. There's actually a YouTuber who Numa Stacker, I'm pretty sure he used to have um he wait a minute, default microphone. Oh crap. Sorry.
Yeah, it went back to normal.
Okay. Yeah, Numa Stacker, he used to actually have this he might still have a channel like that's active, but this was years ago. He would have a whole bunch of people send in like really rare coins to him, and he would send in a bulk order to NGC, or I think it was NGC, and then he would unbox it on film like what everyone's coins came back as.
Wow.
Because yeah, it was crazy, and I think it was more like entertainment purposes, because
Mhm.
like you got to see all the, because he was specifically like very very rare coins. It wasn't just like someone sending him in like a panda. Like these were like
Mhm.
really expensive like gold coins. And yeah, I forgot about that channel. Wonder if
Wow.
he still
And
makes content.
he gave it back, right? He gave the coins
Yeah,
back.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, he was legit. He was a really legit. Yeah, no, there's
That's
no.
actually pretty nice of him to do
Yeah,
that. You know, that's
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
cool.
It was really cool. It was a really cool channel. I gotta look him up. Numa Stacker.
And
Yeah,
was
he
it
is.
because he had a
Yeah, he
subscription
had a. Yeah,
to
yeah. He had a.
NGC?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And if you
Damn,
have
hold on.
subscription, does that mean that you don't have to like pay every
Exactly.
single time?
Yeah, yeah, you could send them.
Okay.
Yeah, you could send them. I think all you have to do is pay for like postage or whatever, obviously, and they'll grade it for you, put it in the slab, send it back. That would be cool. I guess like I don't think I have any older coins that like I could really get graded though.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but
So
yeah,
MS-70. Okay. So
yeah,
basically if you
eh,
get MS-70, that's
that's
like that's
literally perfect condition. Like I'm talking about if your coin has the littlest speck, it will be a
mhm.
69. Like they will. So
Oh
when it's
wow.
MS-70, that coin is literally under a magnifying glass, like flawless. And PF-70, which stands for proof, which means the
Mhm.
coin has like a proof finish. Like this is PF-70, so can you tell how it's
Mhm.
really shiny?
Oh
Because
yeah, yeah.
it has a proof finish.
Okay. So
Yeah,
like
yeah,
basically what it means is like they're doing their whole like refining manufacturing thing. And basically they just slip it into the slab and then no one's hands have touched it. And
yeah, 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 yeah.
okay,
There's never,
okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, there's like a whole world to slab coins, but you got to be careful because all those coins were worth more than $100, definitely.
Hmm.
Because like they're
Okay.
well, it's also because I only pick coins that I know will do good. But there's a
Mhm.
lot of coins on eBay that aren't worth $100 that are listed as $100. Like every one of these
I see.
coins, like I know exactly which ones to look for because I've been stacking for 7+ years. But
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing too, man. I'm much more of the, and I think that's the cool thing about our podcast is like I'm like the data nerd kind of
yeah,
dude, and like Silver Slayer has that experience. Like we didn't even plan to have this conversation, but as soon
I
as we
know it
started
just
talking
came
about
out. Yeah,
NGC, I just went down this rabbit hole. I was like, I gotta learn about this, and I know
yeah,
people who are new are
yeah,
probably wondering that themselves because you'll go on eBay, you'll see ASC, you may see some that'll say like, hey, this has some milk spots on it, but then of course you'll see like the MS or the PF, and then you're just kind of like, what is this thing?
yeah,
Like, what does that mean?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
PF is proof, MS is mint state. So every time you
cool.
see that, and PF obviously is going to be more expensive because that means it's a proof coin. Like that means the finishes is a lot more. Well, not proof coins are always more expensive, right? Because it's a proof
Mhm.
finish. It's not like a normal mint state coin. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Cool. So, guys, we just had an amazing conversation today.
yeah,
I think by now, or maybe by the next episode, we'll have hit 1,000. So we'll be pretty much on our way to do our silver giveaway. But if by the time you're watching this, we haven't hit that subscribe button down
Yeah.
below, so we get to close to 1,000, and
Yeah.
we can get started with the silver giveaway.
Yes. Subscribe regardless, but definitely if you're trying to win some silver, you definitely want to enter. So
Definitely.
and it's probably going to be sponsored by Bully and Max, but I'll throw in some silver of my own as well. Just, you know, because I want our first giveaway to be really like cool, you know, because that's a big number, dude. Like 1,000.
1,000 within like,
dude,
you know, a couple of weeks or so.
dude, that's
basically.
crazy. Like that's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Or I guess you could say like, you know, 5 weeks, you know, because it'll be episode 5.
Episode 5. Yeah. Holy crap, dude.
Which would be insane.
Yeah, you guys are loving it, which is so cool. And then
it's been cool chatting with everybody in the chat when the video gets premiered. So so guys, definitely make sure to check out. I think it should be this video right here, which is last week's episode. If you can't get enough of our show, thanks again. It's been another episode of the Silver Stacking Podcast. I am investing with TJ.
I am Silver Slayer. See you guys soon. Peace.
See you guys.